Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Just recently, I was watching a repeat of Randall Nickerson's interview along with his sister Glinda. They had an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show back in 1994. I'd play it on here, but I'm afraid that I would get in trouble for copyright infringement. But I will leave a link to this. I'm sure some of you out there have seen this before. Randall Nickerson, as we all know, he's a filmmaker, documentary filmmaker. He actually was responsible for Aerial Phenomenon, which was released in recent years. A great documentary. Actually, last year it was a great documentary. I really enjoyed it. And also, he's someone who had experiences himself, and he would rather, when he was on this Oprah Winfrey show from 1994, actually, this clip I saw that I was watching, which I will leave the link for so you can check it out. He was talking about it. Him and his sister Glinda had both experienced extraterrestrials, and he was abducted. They were apparently both were abducted, and there was something that he was saying during that interview, like he was hoping that it wasn't true. I mean, he was, when this happened to him the first time, apparently he was only 10 years old. That's what he remembered. And then it happened all the way up into his adulthood. And he wished that it wasn't true. And you hear that a lot from a lot of people who encounter aliens or people who are abducted by them. They wish that it wasn't true. They hope that there's something else wrong here. They don't want this to be true. He said that what he was surprised about was the fact that that when he started learning that there's other people going through the same things that he was going through, and he says it happens really fast. He was talking about how when he got abducted, this was I guess in 1990 there was an incident that he had where he lays down in his bedroom, and within right when he goes to lay down. These aliens, he doesn't even know where they came from. They're all of a sudden standing above him, and 5 seconds later, he's knocked out, conked out, doesn't have any. He only remembers bits and pieces of what happened during the abduction. And he was stating during this appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show 30 years ago that he just wishes that this wasn't true. And I think that's how we all feel. I mean, I feel like that a lot. I mean, I was categorized one time, probably more than once. I know at least one time there was an Australian TV news channel that was talking about. I believe it was the Vegas alien case, and they had me on. They used a clip from my show, and they referred to me as a UFO enthusiast. And just recently, just this past week, I appeared on the show Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, and he categorized himself as a UFO enthusiast. And I can't say that I don't see. I took offense to it when I heard I was somewhat. I took offense to it. Like some people when they call me an enthusiast, it's not that I'm enthusiastic about it, right? It's just that I cannot deal the issue that I have. I think the biggest issue, and this would go with probably anything. I mean, it should go with, for a lot of people. It does go with anything. Is the fact that that something is true. But yet all these people don't believe it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? There's a good segment of this world that doesn't understand the reality of the situation here, and that's an injustice to me. I'm not enthusiastic about UFOs and aliens per se. I'm enthusiastic about just everyone knowing the truth and acknowledging this, particularly the entire scientific world. Right, so I think that's how some people feel. I think a lot of people feel like this. The people, for instance, the Allagash 4, those the people that were abducted during that. I just watched a show on that recently. A couple different shows about it. I'm interested in that again. You sometimes you find yourself falling back on different sorts of cases and you get reinterested in certain things that you already know about, but you want to learn more, see if there's anything more out there to learn, I'm listening to those guys talk about it. Those 4 guys who went camping back in 1976 in the Allagash Wilderness in Maine. And they saw a UFO. They all remember the UFO sighting. They told people about it, but they just didn't realize they had missing time. They didn't understand. They didn't know until years later, till two twin brothers, Jack and Jim Weiner, started having nightmares, and they were reliving some of the things that happened to them while they were abducted. But that at the time, it didn't. They, that when it happened, they didn't know. They didn't know that they were abducted. They had this missing time, and they didn't know until years later. And then, of course, the other two guys, Chuck Rack and Charlie Foltz, they were, all of these people were put under hypnosis. They all remembered basically the same thing, that they were abducted by these weird creatures, looked like insects. They had trouble themselves even believing it. And they all took lie detector tests. They all passed them. I mean, but yet, I mean, that's a long time ago. That story broke a long time ago. Raymond Fowler, the UFO investigator, had published that book about the Allagash abductions back in 1990, something like that. And so that's been out a long time. I mean, just that case alone, to me, right? That tells you that this is real, right? But yet we're still having arguments and debating this to this point. To all these years later, we're still talking about it, and that's despite the fact that there's all these other cases. All these other abduction cases that people like the late John Mack, the late Bud Hopkins, David M. Jacobs had researched, had hypnotized numerous people who had abduction experiences with these creatures, whatever they are. I think they're extraterrestrial. But yet, all these years later, we're still here. Like, there's still a contingent, a large contingent. The mainstream news, for the most part, they'll talk about it. They're getting a little bit more serious about it, but we're still like... It's like a slow process, but I don't understand why. I guess that's the troubling part to me. I don't like it. Like I always talked about before, my feeling is that the Band-Aid should have been ripped off a long time ago, but yet it's not. It's like this slow process, and nobody, even people within the UFO community, there's skepticism, a lot of skepticism. Some of it is warranted, of course, but some of it's not. I mean, we're beyond the point of this being obvious at this stage here. I mean, we're just beyond it at this stage. I mean, you look at the Ariel school incident with from 1994, from September 1994, when these over 60 kids, of course, in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, early morning, late morning recess, 10:30 in the morning, they all go outside. 60 plus kids see a flying saucer and alien creatures, and some of the kids were receiving telepathic messages from these beings. Now, I've talked about this case a number of times before. Everyone out there in the who's interested in this subject knows the whole story, right? I mean, if that doesn't tell you that, I mean, that case alone, right, should tell you that we're not alone. But when you put them all together, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, this is obvious that there's something here, and we're just, for some reason, the human race as a whole is just pretending that it's not real. Or still pretending if they don't know yet, like we're acting stupid for some reason as a whole. Not all of us, of course. Of course, some of us in the UFO world, in the UFO community, know that this is real. A lot of us have had our own experiences, for one thing, and a lot of us have done enough research and have enough interest in it that they know, they understand that this is real. And to me, it's just maddening. It's maddening that we continue to just fool ourselves. Like the whole world continues to fool ourselves, and you have to wonder. It's like we don't want to just face up to it already. We just don't. Like, I think we all need to just, I feel like someone who, if you see a fight going on between two people, right? Like I feel like people in the UFO community, we're the people trying to go in and break up that fight and say, wait, what are you doing? Look at this over here. Like there's all this nonsense going on all around us all the time, right? All this chaos in this world. I mean, there's violence, there's wars, there's all kinds of stuff, discrimination, racism, hatred, all this nonsense going on in the world. But it's like, I feel like people in the UFO community are trying to get the attention of all these people who are worried about that stuff and engaged in these things that really are not getting us anywhere. And we're trying to get the attention of them and said, hey, wait a minute, look there's something here, and I don't know what they're doing. They're observing us. What are they doing? Are they making it? Are they here to make a decision about what they're going to do about us? Is that what this is all about? But there's something here, and they need to. Everyone in the world needs to know this. The leaders of the world from all the countries, leaders in all the countries should be taking this more seriously. Obviously, they're not. I mean, when you look at the wars that go on, over, for instance, Israel and Gaza and over in Ukraine. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're just killing each other for no reason whatsoever here, basically, just over hatred, over religion, over nonsense, right? Meanwhile, there's this storm brewing all around us. It's like these beings have been around enough now, I think, and there's been enough evidence compiled to this point to show us. Obviously, we're under some kind of observation or something, right? Maybe it's beyond more than just observation. Maybe they're, I don't know, but whatever the case, there's something here, and everybody needs to start taking this more seriously. I mean, what if, like I've talked about this before, I mean, that's this basically started up, but really ramped up after World War II ended, after we dropped atomic bombs. I mean, that's when it seems like things really picked up. I mean, in this arena, in this UFO arena. No, before that, there really wasn't a lot of stuff like that going on. All of a sudden, 1947, they show up in force, and here it's never stopped. It's never stopped, and it just keeps getting more and more mysterious and quite frankly, scary. I mean, the fact that you have these alien abductions that really people start talking about really not until the 60s. And we really didn't start talking about that until the 60s. Of course, as we learned, it seems like some people may have been abducted before the 40s. Okay, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't until basically the 60s where people really start talking about this, and UFO researchers started looking into it more, and people were having these issues, having these experiences, missing time a lot, and then they would seek out help, and they would sooner or later find themselves meeting with UFO investigators who would take them to a verified registered hypnotist, a psychiatrist, and have them do a hypnotic regression on them, and they would remember, okay, this is what was going on during that missing time. Yeah. Okay, I did remember seeing a UFO, and then I remember seeing the UFO later on, but I couldn't remember what was going on in between, but now I remember. So it's almost like it's been a program almost, if you look at it. You could look at it as a process. Like, if at this point we're going to pretend that there's nothing to this, it's absurd, and it goes not just for the people who are just opposed to this. They don't want to go there. The debunker cult, the mind of the debunkers who just try to pretend that none of this stuff means anything, right? And also you have to think about, they're doing a gigantic disservice to the entire world. By the way, you have this rogue group of cultists, debunker cultists, controlling the UFO pages throughout Wikipedia, which Wikipedia is a trusted source for a lot of people for information. But it's unfortunate that you have a bunch of numbskulls basically controlling this, basically a cult control that doesn't want to accept this, that wants to continue pretending that there's nothing to it, and it's disturbing to me. That is disturbing. Well, what's happening here is that I feel like there's a fire. There's a house on fire right now, and there's a whole bunch of people standing outside with their backs turned, looking at something else, and they're not concerned about the house on fire. Maybe there's people in it. They're not calling the fire department. That's what it feels like to me. And that's so I don't look at this as being someone who's a UFO enthusiast. I want to make this clarification, because I'm not. I'm more of an enthusiast of the truth, of people understanding that this is real, folks. This is real, and I know that there's been enough stuff presented on just my channel alone, right? I'm just one little grain of sand out there in a world of UFO information, right? And on my channel alone, we've presented information that there's no question, right, that there's something here based on you look at the Vegas alien stuff. I mean, we actually see the alien creatures. We see alien beings there. So we know that they're here. But yet, we're still not taking it really as serious as we should be. We're still, even despite we have people stepping forward, David Grush, Lou Elizondo, among other whistleblowers. Elizondo's book right now is doing very well. It's #1 on Amazon, last I checked. Imminent. I'm just about finished it. It's fantastic. This guy's telling you the truth. He's telling you the truth. But yet, this isn't the main story on the news. We need to start taking this a little bit more seriously. The whole world does. We need to stop for a minute. I know it's not going to happen overnight, right? But the world needs to stop for a second. Take a deep breath and say, look, This is what's going on here, people. There's something here, and why are they here? It could be they're going to make a decision at some point. They're looking at us. I mean, just think about what we look like to what we would look like to something else out there. What we would look like violent monsters. With that, if we don't care about each other, why would we care about what we might do if we keep advancing technologically to something else from another planet? How are we going to act with those with other beings? I mean, if you look through the history of this, I mean, even you look, for instance, the 1955 Kentucky Goblin Spree, for instance. There was a whole family, all of a sudden there's these weird creatures that show up outside of their house. First there's a UFO seen by somebody, and there's a whole group, a whole family and friends gathered at this house, like 9 or 10 people, and they see these weird creatures floating all around their house. And what's the first thing they do? They pull out some shotguns and start shooting. What happened in the Vegas case? Aliens landed in people's backyard. What do? They all grab guns, pistols, and they're going to go back there and start firing away. It doesn't happen for whatever reason. They probably who knows what something scared them beyond to make them just run out of the yard and forget about the fact that they had guns. But that's our response. I mean, our response to anything that we just don't understand is to kill it. Right. I think the world needs to recognize the fact that we are not alone. There's something here. There's something among us, something interacting with us. Obviously more technologically advanced than we are, for sure, which probably means that they're more intelligent than we are, for sure. And they're looking at this, and it could be that they are here. And I've talked about this similar lines in previous shows. They could be here to make a decision that they're trying to figure out, okay, are these people going to finally wake up and realize what the error of their ways, or are we going to have to intervene and prevent them from advancing anymore? Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe we need to start thinking this way. Maybe all of these wars and all these people responsible for these wars need to stop for a minute and say, look, we're not alone here. These things here, there's things here. We don't know where they come from, but they're more advanced than we are, and they're checking us out, and they're watching us. I mean, there's UFOs. We were just talking last year about all these different astronomers doing research and finding that there's UFOs all over the place in Ukraine in the middle of a war. So they are concerned about this. They shut down our nuclear. They shut down nuclear weapons. They activate them, or they'll shut them down completely. Whatever. They've done that. We've heard the reports. We know it's true. They're sending a message to those aerial school kids. They put messages they put images in their minds of destruction, and they told them technology is bad. There's a message being sent here, it seems. And I talked about this before, is that this abduction stuff is most certainly real. It's most certainly real. We have more corroboration that helps to actually prove that. I mean, the fact that we have evidence that shows alien creatures that we know on video. We have them on cell phone videos. We know that they're real now, right? And they look just like the one that I've been talking about lately. It looks just like the gray kind of creatures that a lot of people who've gotten abducted over the years have talked about. So we know it's real. So to stand back and do nothing and pretend it's not real, to continue to keep our backs turned on, it's like we're deliberately, as a whole, we don't want to face this issue right now. We don't want to stop this nonsense that we're up to here. People say climate change is a joke. No, it's not. I know what things were like here. I live in Pennsylvania. Growing up in Pennsylvania, things were different. It wasn't as hot. It wasn't as, the winters were a lot colder, and the snows were a lot deeper than they are now. There's just no question. I mean, people who are my age in their 50s know this. You know this. Things are changing. We're not making things better here on this planet. We're killing each other. We continue to kill each other. We don't do anything which seems to stop it. And meanwhile, there's things out there, other creatures that are looking down at us, and they're wondering, what the hell are we going to do about these people? And I brought this up before. They could be here, and they could be working their way toward making a decision. Are these people finally going to wake up, understand that they're not alone, that they're not the only intelligent life in this universe, that there's other intelligent life out there, and that we're not going to allow them to advance anymore if they continue on this route of self-destruction? How could we allow them to advance technologically if they're self-destructing all the time, constantly? We can't allow them to come out there. So what's been going on here? Okay, yeah. I think it's possible. This is just a theory, but this is something to think about. What could be going on here is that the abduction program is like they're doing this, by this point, if you don't understand that this is a real phenomenon, that this is really happening, then again you have your head in the sand. There's just too many people at this point. It is something that really happens, and maybe this is the way they take over. They'll continue doing this. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Nothing. There's nothing we can do to stop it. That's what the message could be. We'll just continue doing this until you just don't exist anymore. We'll take you over. We'll take this planet over. You're just not. We can't trust you. We can't trust you to go out there. We just can't trust you to advance anymore because you're going to just bring terror and violence to other worlds. You know what I mean? You have your world right now. Look at yourselves. You can't get along with each other. So it could be that. It could be that they're here and they're going to make a decision at some point on which direction they're going to allow us to go. I mean, they could be saying to us, "Hey, look at dude. Hey, why don't you stop? Instead of fighting each other, why don't you fight ignorance, right? Why don't you do that? Why don't you try to fight ignorance? Try to learn more about what's going on other planets. Put all your focus into trying to advance technologically to explore, like a real life Star Trek, for real. I mean, go to other worlds, other galaxies, other solar systems, maybe other galaxies farther down in the future." But maybe that's what they're trying. Maybe that's the message that they're trying to send. So I just think that we continue to live. I mean, and it's not just debunkers either. I mean, there's people in the UFO community, people who are interested in this, apparently, right? But don't want to, even though it's been obvious, they're still wondering whether whether there is a presence here or not. They're still wondering for some reason, even though they've interviewed people who have been abducted by aliens. Even though they talk about it all the time, they're still wondering if it's real or not. For instance, like Ben Hansen on News Nation earlier this year, evidence is presented about that shows that these Vegas aliens are real, and he thought it was too much of a leap. It's too much of a leap. What are you talking about? It's too much. This is what you're talking about all the time, Ben. You're talking about alien visitation in all these different shows that you're on, and yet here you have some evidence that, that's such a leap. Well, what do you mean it's such a leap? Don't you? Why are you even investigating this stuff? Why are you even on talk shows talking about this? There's something here, Ben. There's something here, and here's the evidence of it. It's time we all accept this reality. People like Lou Elizondo, he's not lying in that book. He's telling the truth. David Grush did not go before Intelligence Committee last year in the House and put his hand on a Bible and swear to God he was telling the truth if he wasn't going to tell the truth. He told the truth. There's programs ongoing. It's obvious. Again, we understand, all of us understand why. Early on, it's understandable. 47, okay, we can't tell the public this. We need to take a few minutes and think about this. We need to take a little bit of time and try to understand this before we start blabbing to the public about what's going on here. I could understand that, but it's gone on too long at this point. You could understand early on, you don't want to cause a panic and all that kind of thing. But I mean, after 10 years, 12 years, whatever. I mean, there's people here that other people that are having these experiences, seeing them all the time. It's not fair that people have been made to look like crackpots or drunks or liars or hoaxers when that's not the case. I mean, obviously, what happened, for instance, with Lonnie Zamora, the police officer from Socorro, New Mexico, in 1964. It's obvious. Obviously, he saw something. Obviously, this craft that landed, that left marks in the ground, that burned the ground, burned some vegetation that he saw take off. Obviously, the little creatures walking around it weren't human. Obviously, it was some sort of extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence technology that he saw with his eyes. He most certainly had an experience. There's just no reason. It's just no reason to not believe what happened, because there was evidence to go along with what he said happened. And there was people that came out there right after it happened, so it's like we continue to fool ourselves all this time. We just pretend. It's just, for some of us, it's just too much. It's too much. I don't want to think about it. We don't want to go there. I don't like this idea, so I don't want to think about it. I want to pretend that there's nothing to it, and we don't need to think about that. That's what it seems like, and that's what needs to stop. People need to realize, everyone, and people in the UFO community, people who have an interest in this, the people who are pretending that there's nothing to this, it's time that everyone like just says, okay, you know what? We're not alone here. We need to take this more seriously. There's something here. They're at the very least observing us, and it might be more. We need to start taking this more seriously, and we need to get beyond this already. This is so stupid to act stupid. I mean, that's the whole issue. Again, there's a house on fire, and it's like most of us are standing around not doing anything and pretending it's not on fire. That's what it feels like to me. It's not. Again, it's my interest here. Since I started this, wasn't based on I'm enthusiastic about UFOs, and I know there's people out there in the UFO community who feel that way. Yeah, that's great. I go, they're going to show us all these neat things. I know there's people out there that think that way, and that's great. But that's not who I am. I'm not enthusiastic about it. I just don't. I dislike the fact that we're not still, after all this time, as a whole, we're not taking it seriously. We're pretending like we don't know whether it's real or not real. And if you look at this rogue group that took control of the UFO pages, this guerrilla skeptics group that took control of those UFO pages in Wikipedia, you look at that. That's disgusting. That's disgusting to me that we have actually a group that really is hell bent on suppressing the reality of the situation. All of this stuff needs to come to an end. I mean, we need to really take this seriously. As I've talked about before, there have been steps taken this year. I think we did take some steps. The evidence is out there now. The absolute evidence that shows we already did have. Maybe just before you even go there, right? There was enough things in the past that already informs us that this is real. Ariel School, Turkey UFO, Lonnie Zamora, Betty and Barney Hill, all of these things, all of it together, Travis Walton, all of this stuff, all of it together, right? And there's so many other cases, all the alien abduction cases that you find in books like The Threat from David Jacobs, right? All these different cases. The Roswell incident, most certainly something happened there. Something crashed and we've been covering it up ever since. And there's been other crashes. There's just too much information out there now. But yet, again, the world as a whole is pretending that there might be, maybe it will, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. I don't know, or it's crazy. Oh, I think it's real. No, it is real, period. There's something here, right? There's no doubt whatsoever. And we need to get over this hump because it's absolutely absurd at this point to be continuing like this in this stupid frame of mind. Again, I'm not enthusiastic about UFOs. I'm enthusiastic. The only thing I'm enthusiastic about is the truth and people accepting and realizing the truth of the situation. There's something here. It's time that we all of us, the entire scientific community, everyone, realizes that there's something here and we got to stop acting stupid about it because that's what's driving me crazy, and I know it drives a lot of other people crazy too. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the recent comments I received on Spotify and YouTube recently, and I guess we're going to go to YouTube first. I got a lot of positive comments. The last 3 episodes I actually went out in the different places outside, like nature walks, and a lot of people seem to really like that, and I will be doing that some more. But today, of course not today. I'm doing a regular old studio episode, but yeah, I am going to do that more. I have a lot of fun doing that, and it's been, yeah, it's different. It's different than sitting here and in an office. It's more. It does seem like I was stating in one of those recent episodes. It's when you're in an office, things feel more officious. But when you're out in nature, it's like you're a little bit more freer or something. It's just, I don't know. There's something nice about walking around and scenery all around. I know a lot of people don't watch my shows. A lot of people on Spotify are only listening to it. But I actually had an interesting comment with regard to that, which I will bring up later. But these are some of the comments I received recently. This was on YouTube for the episode UFOs, Bigfoot, and the Peddler's Grave. Andrew Good said, odd bringing Shakespeare in, but I do think the evil that men do lives after them, the good oft interred with their bones. I don't know what he's talking about. I was reading an old article that I had written back in 1999 where I started it off with the quote from Shakespeare, the one where there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I was laughing at myself for including that in that article. So he was just making a joke about that. And then David Kerwanery says, walking in the woods with the dog and talking UFOs, my kind of entertainment. And here was one from Elizabeth Ramos. She says, I came across your channel and love it, and I definitely am respectful of your beliefs. I am a Christian, but I'm open-minded. Everyone is free to believe or not. I also love your fur baby. She is so adorable. She's talking about our dog Roxy here. Yeah, Roxy's a great dog. Actually, both Roxy and myself were in rough shape after that hike because we ended up walking a lot further than I thought we were going to end up walking. But we have since recovered. And then Alchemist 3724 on YouTube says, I love these nature vlogs lately. It's nice to see. Yes, it's nice to get out there in nature and do these kind of shows. Dennis Cunningham says, Roxy's the best, Jim. You're lucky to have her. Yes, she's a great dog. We all love Roxy. She's very, very smart. Smartest dog I've ever known in my life that I've known personally. I gotta say that. A guy 6641 says the old man beat the dog in the end. Yes, if you watched that the episode before, by the end of that video, in the beginning, Roxy was way out ahead of me, but by the end she was trailing behind me because she was so tired. Let's see what else here. Bill Davis says, and this is he was talking about another episode where I was talking about the demons from hell hypothesis. He says here, combining the demon comments you received, Jim, and the peddler story, it's possible the aliens think we are the demons. That's why we don't really have open contact. Yeah, well, maybe they do. Maybe that's the way they're looking at us, you know. You know, that's the other thing, too. You know, okay, what if they're angels? I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying they're demons from hell. What if they're angels from heaven? How do you know what they are? If you're looking at it from a religious viewpoint, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't subscribe to the idea that they're demons from hell or angels from heaven. I think they're creatures from other worlds, and I think that's what I think they are. I think they're flesh and blood, just like we are, and they're just more advanced than we are. Probably evolved a long way, probably way before we even were Neanderthals. I just don't know, but that's just my belief. I don't think that they're something from some spiritual realm. I don't believe that. That's just my opinion, and I don't think anyone should be upset. That's just my opinion. It doesn't make me right. I think they're from other planets. I know there's other people out there that think they're from other dimensions, or maybe they're here the whole time, that they're crypto-terrestrial, that they've been living under the planet, living in the bowels of the earth or in the bottom of the ocean, or who knows. But I think that they come from other worlds. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's continue here. Another comment from someone saying from Fred Obermeyer says he's loving the outdoor episodes. Yeah, I mean, it's nice doing those episodes outside. Somebody else asked me what I was using, to film it. Actually, I have this thing here. This is a what do you call it? A selfie stick. It extends. You have to walk around with it like this, and that's what I was using to film those episodes. Yeah, it's fun. And again, like I said, I am going to be doing that more often. There's other places I could go. I want to try different places. Different. Now the first one I did. I did it on Tuscarora State Park. So I walk up this nature trail, and I'm standing in the middle. Nobody's there, right? So I started filming, and I'm standing on this nature trail, and some lady comes walking up. I'm standing in the middle of the woods talking about UFOs. I wonder what she was thinking. Yeah, there was a lot of good comments about it, so I see a lot of people liked them. And there was other comments I received on Spotify. Here's from Dust on Spotify. It says, "Hey Jim, I love the show and love that you're getting outdoors for some of the episodes. I love the sound of the footsteps on the path, soothing as heck. Plus the fitness aspect, love it. Anyways, much love from Ohio, Jim." What else did he say here? He says, "Take care." Yep. So I guess what that's what I was talking about earlier is that even though some people might just be listening to it, they could hear me, they could hear the crunch, the sound, walking on rocks and dead leaves that are falling down. So it must be a soothing sound to hear as I'm out there in the wild talking about it. Of course, in that episode, in that recent one, I was talking about a Bigfoot sighting that had occurred up in this area where I was as well. Chad says, I'm not certain Bigfoot is real, but that's not for me to decide. I'm more interested in UFOs, so that's what I follow and study. Yes, of course, I'm mostly interested in UFOs myself. I mean, every now and then I'll talk about Bigfoot on my show. I don't do it all the time. But there were actually a while ago when I first started this podcast, so I was talking about UFOs all the time. And then I did one show on Bigfoot, or one or two shows, I can't remember, within a 2-week span. And one of my subscribers got mad at me and said, I'm not watching your show anymore. I don't want to hear about Bigfoot. But, here's the thing. The reason I talk about Bigfoot, because there may be a connection there, actually. I mean, there was a lot of cases, actually, right here in Pennsylvania, particularly back in the early 1970s, 1973. Stories that were talked about were in newspapers, where people were seeing Bigfoot and UFOs at the same time. So, and there's been other cases out in the desert. I believe there was one out in where was it? Might have been Nevada, somewhere out there, Arizona, or somewhere near the Grand Canyon. I can't remember. There was a case where some guys saw Bigfoot creatures and UFOs at the same time, and there's a lot of different stories where they're connected. So you have to wonder what's going on with that. I mean, I don't know. Are Bigfoot actually creatures from UFOs, or are they targeted by the occupants of UFOs for study, similarly to how we're targeted? Who knows? Or one of the theories I had was maybe Bigfoot is the missing link. Maybe that's where we started. Maybe this has been going on for the whole tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe what started off as human beings, that was us originally, Bigfoot creatures, and these creatures have been coming here and doing a hybridization program this whole time, and this is the most recent result. This is where we're at now. That's something too. That's why there could be a connection there. And there's been, like I said, there were a lot of different encounters that people had with Bigfoot where UFOs were also involved, that I've talked about a number of times on the show. Let's see here. James Matthewman says, I'm not from America, so my geography isn't particularly great, but if it ain't too far, Jim, I'd love to see you do an episode where you and your friend were on the fishing trip and seen that craft. That would be epic and also quite chilling. Love this podcast so much. Okay, yes. I actually went there a couple years ago, October. I tried to I can't get in. I actually went into that. Some of my friends took me up there. We went for a ride, and I was going to film there. Film the site where we had the UFO encounter from 1994, but I couldn't go in there because it was that section of that Beach Mountain Lakes is now not part of Beach Mountain Lakes. Some private contractor, some private developer owns it, and there were cameras and no trespassing signs all over the place. So I would have to get permission from them, for whoever owns it, to get in there, and that's why I haven't done it. And yes, I wouldn't want to put my friend on the spot, Scott. I'd love to, have him on sometime, but I'm not. I couldn't. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put somebody on the spot. I would feel like I was putting him on the spot if I did that. If I asked him, that would, So, some people, remember the first thing he said after it was all said and done is, "I'm not saying anything. I'm not telling anybody." So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he still harbors those kinds of feelings about the UFO sightings, but I still wouldn't want to do that. Even though I do talk to him still regularly, and we do talk about that a lot, but I never bring it up to him. I'd hate to put him on the spot with something like that. But I can assure you that it did happen, and here's the thing. I actually, there's something else I thought about. Even if I did bring him on, is that going to make anyone believe more that the story that I tell is true? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, those stories that I have, particularly the one when I was a kid where I had the alien encounter with the creature with the 3 fingers, right? If the way I look at it is, I know that some people out there just not going to believe it. They're going to think, well, even people who believe in this are going to say, well, maybe there'll be some doubt. Here's the thing. Here's how I look at it. That's important for me for the most part. I know that was real. I know that I was awake. I know that there wasn't a dream. I know that there was something in the room. I know it. Nobody else does, for sure. Nobody could know. Only I could know that. It's the same with a lot of other people who endure these kind of situations. I mean, Randall Nickerson, for instance. I mean, obviously, he experienced some stuff himself, and he knows. personally. I mean, and you have this personal experience, and you know for a fact that this phenomenon is real. And so I believe Randall Nickerson. Randall Nickerson, I believe him because I had the same kind, a similar kind of experience, not nearly as dramatic as he did, right? But there was a creature. There's no doubt. And for all I know, maybe it's been happening my whole life. I don't even know it. Maybe maybe I'm better controlled than some of these other people for some reason. I don't know. It could be. Maybe they figured out, okay, we know how to make this guy forget, and it's been happening for decades, and I just don't know it. It's possible. I think that's what could be going. I think there's probably a lot more people out there who have no idea whatsoever. None. No idea. I think there's people out there, potentially even some of the most vocal debunkers, for all we know. They could be experiencing this and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. They have no clue. I believe that's possible. Because again, I think about how I got conked out. That whatever happened, I got conked out, and I don't know how they did it, but they conked me out, and at a height of terror. Trying to get, thinking about what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of here? Next thing you know, blackout. Somehow. I don't know how it happened. It was like, and then, hours go by and I wake up the next day. These beings have it on us, I'm telling you. And I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised to learn that I've been experiencing this my whole life, multiple times, and I just don't remember it because they got a better handle on how to deal with me. Some people, apparently, they don't, and some people remember things all the time. Not everything, but some things. And there's some people who say they remember the whole thing. But there's no doubt in my mind that it's real, and I don't need to, I think when you look at all of these cases together, and when you put all the stories together, it just, again, that's something else that informs us that this is real and that we need to take it more seriously. Here was Fred Bone. He says, demons don't assume physical form or much less build spacecraft, LOL. It's a lazy explanation born out of fear and a poor understanding of the spiritual world. Oh, well. Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't think that has anything to do with the spiritual realm. I think these things are coming from other places. Roger Leverick says, in my opinion, there is no death, there is no devil or hell, but there are ghosts trapped in between, creating different problems. There is no death. We live multiple lives. Who are we then? I don't know. Well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but everyone has different ideas on what this is. But regardless of whatever it is, right, here's the issue. Like the main theme of today's show is regardless of whatever it is, right, we need to stop pretending that it's not, that there's nothing to it, because there most certainly is something to it. There's something else here. It's all, maybe maybe the whole world is being controlled into pretending it's not, or to not think about it that much. Don't worry about it. For all we know, there could be messages sent into our brains 24/7, telling the subliminal messages telling us, don't worry about it. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. How do we know? We don't know what's going on. All I do know is that there is something here, but we don't know what they're up to, or that's why we need to take it more seriously. Yeah, as Jonathan Haynes asked how I was handling the camera. Yep, it was with this thing here. Angela Goldsmith says, religion brings some people a great level of comfort, so I'm not surprised that people would be offended if one were to challenge the foundations of that comfort. We are just as capable of being angels or demons as any other being. We have seen humans perform acts of great kindness and great evil, and depending on what day one is having, this place can be heaven or hell. Can't wait for disclosure here. Everything is coming together. Yes, it is. I think it is too. Everything is starting to come together. We are getting there. It's a slow process. I'm more of a Band-Aid ripper-offer kind of guy, but that doesn't mean I'm right, but that's the way I would handle it. But we are moving toward a full realization where the entire world is going to have to face up to this and realize that there's something else here, and we need to take it seriously, and we need to try to look at ourselves too and try to figure out, okay, what are we doing? Well, shouldn't we be embarrassed? There should be a sense of embarrassment when we look at, like, if you know you're doing something wrong, and as a whole we are most certainly doing something wrong, and you find out that somebody sees somebody else is seeing this, right? You're going to want to correct that and apologize. That's how we need to look at this, because for all we know. They're looking at us. Can you imagine what they might be thinking of us? Look at these wild animals with cell phones running around, killing each other, hating each other. All this nonsense for no reason when they could be trying to make a better world for every single person. Well, it doesn't matter what who or why or what. Just everyone should be happy and free and not be tortured and killed or whatever. We need to start appreciating every life on this planet. Should be appreciated more and respected. But that's not what we're doing right now. There's a lack of respect for life when you just look at what's going on in different. We've been doing this. This is who we are. But maybe we need to take a pause and realize, hey, there's something here watching us, and they might just blow us into smithereens here if we don't straighten out our ways. That could be what this is about. Maybe not, but it could be, and it's something to take into consideration. And it's a reason why we need to stop this game of pretend and finally end this stupidity that we're, for some reason, as a whole. I mean, not all of us are stupid on this, right? Some of us know, some of us have accepted it, but as a whole, we're being really stupid. I don't know how else. Yeah, all we can do. There needs to be more people out there. Hey, this is real. It's not crazy. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just reality, and here's evidence of it. And so we need to we need to start taking this more seriously. The world needs to finally come to grips with this and open its eyes. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.